Hello everyone, my name is Uthris, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. We have another mission using the Minmus Heavy Lifter MK1 for you today. We are reattaching a Minmus lander here onto this rocket because we're going to go ahead and visit Minmus again to get some money. We're currently sitting at 576,000, and while that is a decent amount, the next mission that I have planned is going to be potentially costly, so I want to go ahead and recoup some of my funds while I can. We accepted a few missions for Minmus before getting this launch vehicle ready. We have to return science from Minmus. That's easy. We got a lander. We can do that. And we have to repair the satellite in a high elliptical orbit for some funds as well, which we should be able to do also in this single launch. So succeeding both of these missions should give us some much needed funds so that we can go to a more interesting kind of mission deployment next episode. So we're gonna go ahead and launch here another standard flight for Samantha Kerman and Bill Kerman, the engineer, because we're gonna need to bring the engineer along with us so that they can attach the solar panel to the satellite that is requested of us. We'll go ahead and start our gravity assist turn over here about 20,000 meters. I'm still not, I don't think, aggressive enough at this, because you can see my Apple Apps is already at like 70,000 kilometers, which is pretty high. Orbits at that 70,000 meter. So I need to try and time that whole rolling sideways a little bit sooner, so that we can not waste some of our Delta V. We are still using just the skipper or little engine on this. We haven't upgraded this to like a mainsail because we haven't needed to increase the lifting power of this vehicle. This vehicle has been very consistent and steady with how well it performs going to Minmus. And so as long as we're just doing these little landers, we'll probably keep reusing this vehicle going forward. But as we start considering going back to the moon, landing on the moon, getting a base on the surface of the moon, which I know a lot of people want to see, we will have to design a bigger launch vehicle for that. So we'll go ahead and get our Apple Apps out there towards Minmus. We'll go ahead and target that. Double clicking on the planetoid that you're trying to go to, you can see it might be actually easier to adjust things while you're focused over here. The little maneuver module at the bottom left corner, to me, is still like way too hypersensitive. I have to get used to using that and maybe change some settings to where it can perform a little bit better for us, because at the moment I still kind of prefer clicking back at the maneuver node all the way there at Kerbin and using those, because those are bigger and I can have a little bit more fine mouse control on those for these fine little adjustments. So we're just going to go ahead and get captured right around here. I'm trying to get a direction and a little bit of a gravity capture at Minmus that at least points us in the same rotation as the satellite we are going to. Because if I am going the opposite direction, then that is going to create some problems with us trying to rendezvous with this vehicle. So we'll go ahead and make the quick little burn here. Get that as close to 0 meters a second as possible. And take a look. It looks like we're pretty well close there. Tried to go see if I could get closer. Ended up kind of messing that up. All right, so we're coming across pretty much at the horizontal plane on this, which is fine. And we'll just go ahead and warp closer to Minmus. And we'll get into a nice little orbit. Get captured by the orbital body here. And then we will start setting targets, changing our ascending node to start matching the satellite, which would be good. And you can see we already have some beginnings of some good rendezvous. So luckily, we got the timing down on this pretty good. We're not going to have to go in many orbits just to catch up to the satellite. We'll be able to come in kind of directly on here and then just make some minor changes so that we can catch up and get pretty close. So this is, again, how I do my rendezvous. I will generally get a decent intersect of about within 5 kilometers, depending on how lazy I want to be. I'll kill my relative velocity to the target at that point when I'm close enough. And when we do that, you'll notice that our orbit right now is a little bit off, but when you kill your relative target velocity and you're within a decent closeness of that object, your orbits are going to end up matching for the most part here. For some reason, I was having trouble getting out of map view at that point. Some kind of weird bug in a way. Now, this vehicle is still pretty heavy. We're not using any RCS here, so we're having to rely on flipping our rocket end over end. You know, we'll burn towards the target, speed up, flip over, and then when we get close enough, we'll try and kill a relative velocity again, and then flip back over. So you guys are seeing this, of course, sped up so that I don't waste your time. But this can be a little time consuming when you don't have RCS thrusters because you don't have the control authority to do all these flips and maneuvers when your rocket is fairly large like this one. And, you know, so that's kind of the downside of having a larger distance between your rendezvous target. All right, we'll go ahead and point towards this. I don't think I'm close enough to build a panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the storage. I'll attach it to the lander temporarily, and we'll hop back in to the module. We will burn just a little bit closer, and I'm going to try and get this to where we can go down below. I did a little bit of a burn while we're facing kind of north-south there to drop below the satellite. Get close because this is the panel we need to move at the top there. Detach, and then go into build mode again and attach that to our satellite. And we'll even extend it just to make sure it is fully functional. At this stage, we'll go into mission objective number 2. While we almost crash into the satellite, we just kind of modified. We'll go towards Minmus, get into a relative close to surface orbit here, and we will try again to use our lander. This lander MK2 is still kind of a test lander. We have never gotten it to successfully land on Minmus. I know it has the Delta V for Minmus. Minmus is super easy to land on, but I would like to get the actual lander to do its job. We're gonna also translate our orbit to be a little bit more equatorial rather than north-south at that point, and we're pretty much good to go. So we'll just transfer our crew over to the lander now. I guess they can fit their tiny little bodies through that little gap there in the middle. We'll undock. All right. Activate our engines. I would normally press spacebar here to activate them. Last time we did that, we had a catastrophic failure, and now there's space debris kind of still circling Minmus. We'll go to periaps, and we will burn to bring this down to a surface kind of encounter. Very good. And we got 1,500 meters a second of acceleration. I'm hoping, in theory, this thing might have enough thrust to land on the moon. The only problem with landing on the moon is I don't think it has enough thrust to get back into a proper orbit. Now it doesn't have to go into a proper orbit to really get captured by, like, say, the command module, and then we kind of work with transferring the crew across, or maybe we dock with the command module and then use the command module to get us back up to speed. But that is a concern, and I do want to eventually make a lander MK3 that is actually going to be used for the moon, because so far every attempt to go to the moon has gone not quite according to plan. So that's just something to take note of. We're going to be chilling on the inside of the cockpit on this one. I do like to do landings on the interior. They're not as hard as you think it is. So long as you kill your lateral velocity, all you have to worry about is just holding SAS vertically and then managing your speed and looking at the radar indication at the bottom right there. If you can manage those couple little things, you'll be good, right? Because the radar is giving you your true altitude, which is pretty nice to have for these landings. So you can see as it's approaching 0, I'm trying to throttle up a little bit, and then we touch down and I kill the engines immediately. And that's it. We'll extend the solar panel, get the ladder extended so that Kerbals can kind of do their work. Now, I have this camera arm. I don't know how it works, but I put one on the lander just for sciencey bits. And get ourselves a no issues point flag. Finally call it, no issues. And we'll quickly fly around, see if we can't find any rocks to harvest to bring back, if they can yield any more science. There's one over here. So we'll just hop on over to it, get close enough to the rock to see if we can pick up this greenstone. I don't know why, but like these greenstones are kind of hard to find. So we'll grab that, and it is worth 0 science. So no point there, though I could, in theory, bring it to like a research lab or something like that once we have one, and maybe squeeze out a few more science from there. So we'll go ahead, climb the ladder, get back into our spacecraft, and this has plenty of fuel left. So I want to try the arm out. To do that, we're going to just quickly hop over to the kind of shoreline of this green lake kind of basin here, because there's some rocks, and I don't know how this thing works, so I'm just trying to see if maybe these rocks are interactable with it, if it can do some sort of scan. Honestly, I have no idea, so we'll just have to try and kind of figure that one out as we get there. So we'll just do another landing, trying to get as close to a rock as possible on a single jump, because doing a low altitude flight, you don't have as much leeway with your controls, and flying some of these things can be a little awkward. I feel like I'm playing like Lunar Lander, which I guess in a way I am, playing a really advanced Lunar Lander game. And we'll just come down here, try and get close to this rock, while just managing our thrust and kind of vectors here. So a little bit of energy towards the rock, and then you counteract that, make sure you're falling a little bit more vertically, and there you go. So we get close. It doesn't look like that's functional here, so we'll get even closer to see if that helps. Maybe to even do like a 360. Didn't help either. Can I do anything while on foot with it? Doesn't seem so. I don't know if I need a scientist or what there either. So a little bit of a waste of effort, sadly. But at this stage, we'll turn off the engines of the base. We will throttle up, completely set our command module back as a target, and detach. Finally, we get to do the full detachment of the lander stage here. I'm going to go ahead and grab some science on this different terrain, though, first. Because why not? Got to bring home some science. And off we go. We are detached and we are flying. So we're going to go ahead and aggressively roll over to get as much of an orbit as possible on this thing. And, I don't even know if this vehicle has enough thrust to get into a good enough orbit. I think it does. Minmus is pretty light in terms of gravity. So we'll get that out towards our command module, which has a decent head start on us. So you can see I did not really time this too well. So we will circularize our orbit, get our nodes to match, and get another little intersect going on the opposite side, which will be good. Getting some decent shots here, making sure we have enough electrical charge That's the problem when you stow your solar panels. You're kind of, at that point, you're committed, very, very committed to what you're trying to do. We'll warp to where we're very close to the target, and then clear our relative velocity. Burn on over to the command module. Again, no RCS. Even though this thing has RCS thrusters on it, I get rid of the monopropellant to save weight, because I just don't need it for docking. And honestly, I almost find it harder to dock with monopropellant than just doing it this way. At least from a end-to-end perspective. If I was doing a more side-to-side docking, I think RCS is going to be the best for that. But the nose-to-nose is very straightforward to do for the most part. We're going to go out here. We're going to grab our stored experiments, bring them over to the man module, because this is the item returning back to the surface of Kerbin. Set our velocity to leave Minmus. There we go. And now at this point we just point retrograde and we get down to a nice periapse. We'll lose that engine that finally ran out of fuel. So we have a full upper stage of liquid fuel here. So the Minmus heavy lifter can definitely do some work in that regard. Okay, so we'll ditch both utility pieces and return with just the command module. Fire and flames, lighting up the night sky. Bill and Samantha having a good time. Always want to make sure too, before you disconnect your crafts, that the crew that you have at the landing vessel is the crew that you expect to be there. I can't tell you how many times I've done this and accidentally left someone in the lander before and have just been like, oh no. Oh no, that's bad. Alright, so they're good. We'll go ahead and splash down. We'll assign some science points. And we have made plenty of money. We're over $1 million now of funds, which is pretty great for us. So we can start planning for some bigger and better missions. We are almost ready to enter the next column here. We just have 2 more research items to get through. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Kerbal Space Program. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe for more creative videos such as this. Hit that like button. Become a member today to unlock our cool emotes and fun stuff like that. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.